Why are you telling us? I mean, we might leave here today. We'll go out there, tell everybody.
It would vanish in disbelief. A story that goes around the room. No credibility. Even if I could make you believe me, in a month you wouldn't. Some of you would call me a psychopath. Others would be angry at a pointless joke.
Well, John, some of us are angry now.
This was a bad idea. I love you all, and I do not want to put you through anything.
Then why are you doing it?
Because I wanted to say goodbye.
As yourself. Well, I think you've done that, whoever that self is.
Easy, Edith. We're just grading his homework.
I see what's going on. You're playing the good cop, Dan. That's fine. Just enjoy it. Right? I think this whole thing is just a crock. I should leave, but I'm going to stay. You know why? Because I want to see what the hell this is all about.
Yes, so do I. What is this all about?
Well, let's ask Dr. Freud, who's just arrived. Hey, Will! Will! Hey.
Art. John! I'm glad I caught you. Someone mentioned that you were leaving
Called
today?
you, told you that I've lost it. Glad you're here. Things are going in unexpected directions.
Yes, so I hear.
Hi. Are you hungry?
Thank you, no.
Whiskey?
Johnny Walker Green.
Oh, yes. You look very familiar, my dear.
Linda Murphy. I'm in your Tuesday Psych 1 class, Dr. Gruber.
Ah, well, this lesson may be something I could not have imagined. I regret being so obvious about this, John, but these people are all very concerned for you.
Yes, I'm cutting out paper dinosaurs.
I really wish I'd been here from the beginning.
Me too.
Yeah, let me just say something right now. I mean, there's absolutely no way in the whole world for John to prove his story to us. Just like there's no way for us to disprove it. No matter how outrageous we think it is, no matter how highly trained some of us think we are, there's absolutely no way to disprove it. Our friend is either a caveman, a liar, or a nut. So while we're thinking about that, why don't we just go with it? I mean, hell, who knows? He might jolt us into believing him. Or we might jolt him back to reality.
Believing?
Whose reality?
So, you're a caveman?
Yes. I was the Cro-Magnon, I think.
You don't know if you're a caveman or not?
Well, no, I'm sure about that.
A Cro-Magnon, then. When did you first realize this?
Well, when the Cro-Magnon was first identified. When anthropology gave them a name, I had mine.
Well, please continue. I'm sure you must have more to say.
Would you like for me to lie on the couch, Doctor?
As you wish. As a physician, I'm curious. In this enormous lifetime you describe, have you ever been ill?
Sure, as much as anyone.
Seriously ill?
Sometime.
Of what? Do you know?
In prehistory, I can't tell you. Maybe pneumonia once or twice. Last few hundred years, I've gotten over typhoid, yellow fever, smallpox. I survived the Black Plague.
Bubonic? Well, that's terrible.
More so than history describes.
And smallpox. But you're not scarred.
I don't scar.
No, John, that is not possible.
Please, let's take John's story at face value and explore it from that perspective. If he doesn't scar, it's no stranger than the rest of it.
John, would you please stop by my lab before you take off? Suffer a few tests from your friendly neighborhood biologist.
I'm leery of labs. Afraid I might go in and stay for 1,000 years while cigarette-smoking men try to figure me out.
You don't think that I would betray you in any way?
You know, walls have ears.
Medical tests might be a way of proving what you say.
I don't want to prove it.
So you're telling us this, the yarn of the century, and you don't care if we believe it or not?
I guess I shouldn't have expected you to. You're not as crazy as you think I am.
Amen.
I've always liked you.
Well, thank you, dear.
Well, that's changing.
Oh, surely you don't believe this nonsense.
I think we should remain courteous to someone who we've known and trusted, Edith.
Here you sit. You can't break his story. All you can do is thumb your nose at it.
Is that what you're doing, John? Are you laughing at us inside?
I wish you didn't feel that way.
Well, what you're saying, it offends common sense.
So does relativity. Quantum mechanics. That's the way nature works.
Yeah, but your story doesn't fit into nature as we know it.
But we know so little, Dan. We know so little. I mean, how many of you know 5 geniuses in your field that you disagree with? One you would like to strangle.
Strangle them all.
Damn it, Dan, it's bad enough we have to listen to Harry's idiotic jokes.
Thank you very much, Edith. Maybe when I'm 110, I'll be as smart as you are.
If you lived as long as John did, you still wouldn't grow up.
Oh, come on, guys, take it easy. How often do we get to meet someone who says he's a Stone Age man?
Yeah, once is enough.
Edith.
All right, a guy with your mind, you'd have studied a great deal.
I have 10 degrees, including all of yours. Except yours, Will.
That makes me feel a trifle Lilliputian.
That's over the span of 170 years. I got my biology degree at Oxford in 1840. So I'm a little behind the times. The same in other areas. I can't keep up with the new stuff that comes along. No one can. Not even in their specialty.
So much for the myth of the super-wise, all-knowing immortal.
I see your point, John. No matter how long a man lives, he can't be in advance of his times. He can't know more than the best of the race knows, if that. I mean, when the world learned it was round, you learned it.
It took some time. News traveled slowly before communications were fancy. There were social obstacles, preconceptions, screams from the church.
10 doctorates. That's impressive, John. Did you teach them?
Some. But you might have all done the same. Living 14,000 years didn't make me a genius. I just had time.
Time. We can't see it, we can't hear it, we can't weigh it, we can't measure it in a laboratory. It's our subjective sense of becoming what we are. Instead of what we were a nanosecond ago, becoming what we will be in another nanosecond. The whole BC time is a landscape existing before and behind us, and we move through it, slice by slice.
Clocks measure time.
Oh, they measure themselves. The objective referent of a clock is another clock.
Now, very interesting. What has it got to do with John?
Oh, he might be a man who lives outside of time as we know it.
Yes, well, people do go around armed these days. If I shot you, John, you're immortal? Would you survive this?
I never said I was immortal, just old. I might die. And then you could wonder the rest of your incarcerated life what you shot.
Oh, may I?
Preferable to a gun.
Well, that was a bit much.
Ooh. Books? Doctorates? Yes, you have grown and changed. But there is always innate nature. Wouldn't you be more comfortable squatting in the backyard?
Sometimes I do, Will. Look up at the stars, wonder.
And what did primitive man make of them?
A great mystery. There were gods up there that shamans who knew about them told us.
They still do.
Have you ever wished it would end?
No.
14,000 years. Injuries, illness, disasters. You've survived them all. You're a very lucky man.
Come in.
John Oldman?
Yes.
Charity now. We're here to pick up the furniture.
It's all yours.
Here, take this chair. I'm gonna go drink in the corner.
You're donating it? Everything?
I'll get more.
Do you always travel this light?
It's the only way to move.
Oh, you've talked a good deal about your extraordinary amount of living. What do you think of dying, John? Do you fear death?
Who wouldn't?
How did primitive man regard death?
Well, we had the practical concept. Stopped, fell down, didn't get up. Started to smell bad, come apart. Injuries we could understand if someone's insides were all over the ground. Infections, they were mysterious. Aging, biggest mystery of all.
You realize you were different.
Longer to realize how I was different. To find a way to synthesize my experience into a view of myself. At first I thought everybody had something wrong with them. They got old, they died. Animals too. But not me.
Oh, forgive me, my dear. You live simply.
I've owned castles, but why leave a lot if you're always leaving? I have money.
What'd you get into AT&T at 50 cents, John?
As one grows older, the days, weeks, months go by more quickly. What does a day or a year or a century mean to you? The birth-death cycle.
Turbulence. I meet someone, learn a name, say a word, they're gone. Others come like waves, rise, fall. Ripples in a wheat field blown by the wind.
You ever get tired of it all?
I get bored now and then. They keep making the same stupid mistakes over and over.
Hey. Then you see yourself as separate from the rest of humanity.
I didn't mean it that way. But of course, I am.
Are you comfortable knowing that you have lived while everyone you knew, John, has died?
I've regretted losing people. Often.
Have you ever felt guilt about that? Something akin to survivor's guilt.
In the strict psychological sense? Suppose I have. Yeah. Well, what could I do about it?
Indeed.
I'm sorry, man.
Gentlemen, I'm going to keep the couch. Thanks. Ladies, Will?
Oh, no.
You've got a heart condition. Don't grump about it.
Hey, how about changing the subject? Well, enough with the dying.
But this is the flip side of his coin, Harry. I'm very curious to know his feelings. Would you prefer I asked him about his father?
I thought you always started with tell me about your mother.
Yes, but prehistory was strongly patriarchal. Surely you remember your father.
I seem to remember a figure. Perhaps an older brother, a social father, maybe.
Well, no matter. I could scarcely remember mine. Do you feel a vacancy in your life about that, John? Something you wish could be filled by a face, a voice, an image?
Not at this late date.
There must be someone, probably many, that you valued intensely, loved. You saw them age and die. A friend, a colleague, a wife. Certainly you've had wives and children.
I'd move on. I had to move on.
Making him history's biggest bigamist.
Have you ever in your life thought, it should have been me?
Maybe.
Your art has told me that some of your early fellows feared you were stealing their lives. Have you thought that perhaps you were? Perhaps you are. There have always been legends of such a thing, a creature, not quite human, taking not the blood, but the life force itself.
My God, Will.
Unconsciously, perhaps, by some biological or psychic mechanism that we can only guess at. I'm not saying you would do such a thing deliberately. I'm not saying that you would even know how to. Would you? But would such a thing be fair?
So you believe me then?
I'm only exploring what you have said. Whether I believe it or not is of no importance. We will die. You will live. Will you come to my funeral, John?
Hey, Will.
You've gone too far. John didn't ask to be what he is.
And we did not ask to hear about it. But if it were true, is there one among us who would not feel envy? Even perhaps a touch of hatred? You told us of yourself, John. Can you imagine how we feel?
I never thought of that.
Since you may not die, while me most assuredly will, there must be a reason for that, no? Perhaps you are an expert.
That's it, Mr. Oldman. Have a good one.
Thank you. You too.
Or are you a vampire, John? Even an unknowing one? Do you stand alive and tall in a graveyard that